Millions of years ago, long before cities, civilizations, or even written history, Earth was a completely different world. Vast forests stretched to the horizon, endless grasslands covered ancient continents, and towering volcanoes shaped the landscape. Powerful predators ruled the wilderness, and survival was a challenge every single day. It was in this unforgiving environment that the incredible story of humankind began. Our earliest ancestors were not the strongest animals on Earth. They had no sharp claws, no powerful fangs, and no natural armor. Compared to giant predators, they seemed weak and vulnerable. Yet they possessed one remarkable advantage that would eventually change the course of life on Earth: the ability to learn, adapt, and work together. Each sunrise brought new dangers. Hunger forced these early humans to search for food across unfamiliar landscapes. They gathered wild fruits, edible roots, nuts, and seeds while always staying alert for hidden threats. Every rustling bush could conceal a dangerous predator. Every river crossing carried the risk of crocodiles. Even a simple search for food could become a life-or-death struggle. The climate itself constantly tested their survival. During scorching summers, water became scarce, and finding a safe place to rest was difficult. Powerful storms flooded the land, destroyed shelters, and scattered food sources. At night, darkness belonged to predators. Lions, saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and packs of wolves roamed freely, forcing early humans to stay close together for protection. Living alone was almost impossible. Families and small groups gradually became the key to survival. Adults protected children, shared food, and warned one another about approaching danger. This cooperation was one of the first great steps in human evolution. Together, they could watch for predators, care for the injured, and improve their chances of surviving another day. As generations passed, these early humans bega. As thousands of generations passed, our ancient ancestors became more observant and more intelligent. They no longer wandered aimlessly through the wilderness. Instead, they began to understand the world around them. Every day in nature became a lesson, and every challenge became an opportunity to learn. One of the earliest breakthroughs was the use of simple stone tools. At first, they picked up sharp rocks from the ground to cut meat, crack open bones, or slice tough plants. Over time, they realized that certain stones could be shaped into sharper edges. By striking one rock against another, they created the first primitive knives, scrapers, and hand axes. These simple tools changed everything. With them, humans could process food more efficiently, remove animal hides, dig for edible roots, and defend themselves against predators. They were still physically weaker than many animals, but their growing intelligence gave them an advantage that no other creature possessed. Communication also began to evolve. Although they had not yet developed true language, early humans used sounds, gestures, and facial expressions to share important information. A simple hand signal could warn others about danger. Different calls helped keep groups together during long journeys or hunting expeditions. This growing ability to communicate strengthened trust and cooperation within the tribe. The environment continued to challenge them. Massive droughts dried up rivers and lakes, forcing entire groups to migrate across unfamiliar lands. Powerful storms destroyed shelters, while freezing temperatures during the ice ages transformed forests into vast frozen plains. Yet humans refused to give up. Instead of disappearing, they adapted. Some groups learned to build stronger shelters using branches, leaves, mud, and animal skins. Others discovered caves that provided protection from rain, wind, and dangerous predators. These shelters became more than places to sleep. They became homes. For countless generations, fire was one of nature's greatest mysteries. Early humans saw it during violent lightning storms, volcanic eruptions, and wild forest fires. They watched towering flames consume ancient trees, sending frightened animals running across the landscape. Fire was powerful, beautiful, and terrifying. No one dared to control it. Yet one day, everything began to change. Imagine a violent thunderstorm sweeping across the prehistoric plains. Lightning strikes a giant tree, and within moments, flames rise into the night sky. While most animals flee in panic, a small group of human ancestors watches from a safe distance. They notice something remarkable. The dangerous predators that usually hunted them are keeping away from the blazing fire. For the first time, humans realize that this mysterious force can also offer protection. At first, they could not create fire themselves. Instead, they carefully carried burning branches from natural wildfires back to their camps. Protecting the flames became one of the tribe's most important responsibilities. Day and night, someone always remained awake to feed dry wood into the fire, making sure it never went out. If the fire died, they might have to wait weeks or even months before nature created another one. As the days passed, they discovered even more incredible benefits. The warmth of the fire helped them survive freezing nights that had once claimed countless lives. Families gathered around the glowing flames, sharing food, stories, and experiences. Children felt safer as the bright light pushed back the darkness. Predators that had once approached their camps now stayed away, frightened by the flames and smoke. Then came another life-changing discovery. One day, pieces of raw meat accidentally fell into the fire. At first, people hesitated to eat it, but hunger forced them to try. They quickly realized that cooked meat was softer, easier to chew, and tasted completely different. Cooking also killed. With the power of fire changing their lives, early humans entered a new chapter in their evolutionary journey. They were no longer simply wandering through the wilderness in search of berries and roots. Their growing intelligence encouraged them to think ahead, plan together, and face challenges as a united group. One of the greatest challenges before them was finding enough food to keep their families alive. Large animals roamed the prehistoric world. Mammoths thundered across frozen plains. Giant bison grazed on endless grasslands. Wild horses raced through open valleys, and enormous deer wandered deep forests. These animals represented an incredible source of food, but hunting them was extremely dangerous. A single mistake could cost a hunter his life. Early humans quickly understood that no individual could defeat such powerful animals alone. Strength was important, but teamwork was even more valuable. Slowly, they began organizing themselves before every hunt. The strongest members carried heavy wooden spears tipped with carefully shaped stone points. Others prepared sharp-hand axes and stone knives. Experienced elders observed the landscape, searching for animal tracks and predicting where herds would travel. Before setting out, hunters discussed a simple plan using gestures, sounds, and expressions. Although spoken language was still developing, cooperation had become remarkably effective. Every member understood their role. Some would quietly approach from one side, while others circled behind the animals. Their goal was not simply to chase prey, but to guide it toward a safe place where the group could work together. Patience became one of humanity's greatest weapons. Hunters often followed a herd for many hours or even several days, waiting for the perfect opportunity. They learned that attacking at the wrong moment could lead to disaster. Instead, they watched carefully, studying every movement. They looked for an older, weaker, or injured animal sep. After countless generations of struggle, discovery, and survival, humanity stood on the edge of its greatest transformation. Millions of years of evolution had shaped stronger bodies, sharper minds, and deeper social bonds. The world was still unpredictable, but early humans were no longer simply surviving it. They were beginning to shape it. For thousands of years, people had followed migrating animals and searched for seasonal plants. Their lives were constantly on the move. But as their understanding of nature grew, they noticed something extraordinary. Seeds that accidentally fell onto the ground sometimes grew into new plants. Rivers flooded fertile land, leaving behind rich soil where food flourished. These simple observations sparked one of the greatest revolutions in human history. Instead of wandering endlessly, some groups began to settle near rivers, lakes, and fertile valleys. They cleared small areas of land, planted seeds, and waited patiently for crops to grow. For the first time, people could produce their own food instead of relying entirely on hunting and gathering. This changed everything. With a steady food supply, families no longer had to travel constantly. Permanent homes slowly replaced temporary shelters. Villages appeared where only camps had once stood. Children grew up in stable communities, and elders could pass their knowledge to future generations more effectively than ever before. As communities expanded, new skills emerged. Some people became expert toolmakers, crafting stronger stone axes, sharper knives, and more reliable hunting weapons. Others specialized in building shelters, weaving baskets, preparing clothing, or creating pottery to store food and water. This division of labor allowed societies to become more efficient and organized. Communication also became more advanced. Simple gestures and sounds gradually developed into richer forms of language. Stories, traditions, and knowledge could now be shared in greater detail. The first morning after Sophia left me felt unreal. I woke up automatically, reached for my phone, and almost called her before I remembered she wasn't mine anymore. My hand froze above the screen. I laughed at myself, but the sound felt empty. Someone knocked on my apartment door. I already knew who it was. When I opened it, Daniel walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You look terrible," he said. "I've looked worse." "No, you haven't." He handed me a cup and glanced around the apartment. The engagement photo still hung on the wall. Sophia's favorite blanket was still folded over the couch. Nothing had changed, yet everything felt different. Daniel sat down across from me. "So, how long are you planning to hide?" "I'm not hiding." "Really? You haven't answered calls. You ignored Grace. You skipped 3 meetings. I needed time." He shook his head. "Ethan, the announcement is only weeks away. Once everyone learns who you really are, Sophia will come running back." I looked into my coffee. "I know. Then tell her now." I slowly shook my head. "No." His eyebrows lifted. "No, I don't want revenge." He stared at me in silence. "What do you want, then?" "I want the truth to reveal itself." "The truth already revealed itself," he replied. "She chose Victor." "I know. Then why protect her?" "I'm not protecting her." "That's exactly what you're doing." I leaned back and closed my eyes for a moment. If I tell her now, she'll think I became valuable because of money. And I need to know whether she ever loved me without it. Daniel sighed heavily. "You're a better man than I am." "I don't feel like one." He stood and walked toward the window. "You spent 7 years building your company. Don't spend another 7 mourning someone who couldn't see your worth." I didn't answer. After he left, the apartment became painfully quiet again. I found myself staring at the engagement photo. I remember the day it was taken. As thousands of years passed, humanity continued to evolve, not only physically, but intellectually. The scattered villages that had once depended on hunting and farming slowly transformed into thriving communities. These settlements became the first great civilizations, marking a new chapter in the extraordinary story of humankind. The discovery of agriculture changed the rhythm of life forever. Farmers learned to grow wheat, barley, rice, and other crops in fertile river valleys. They domesticated animals such as goats, sheep, cattle, and horses, ensuring a reliable source of food, clothing, and transportation. With stable harvests, populations grew rapidly, and villages expanded into bustling towns. As communities became larger, new challenges appeared. People needed rules to maintain order, leaders to organize society, and systems to distribute food and resources. Slowly, the first governments emerged. Wise elders and tribal chiefs gave way to kings and queens who ruled over growing kingdoms. Laws were created to protect people, settle disputes, and strengthen communities. One of humanity's greatest inventions soon followed: writing. For countless generations, history had been passed from parent to child through stories. But now, symbols carved into stone and written on clay tablets allowed knowledge to survive beyond a single lifetime. Trade records, laws, religious beliefs, and historical events could finally be preserved for future generations. Knowledge no longer depended only on memory. It could now travel across centuries. Trade connected distant civilizations like never before. Merchants carried valuable goods across mountains, deserts, and seas. Gold, spices, silk, precious stones, pottery, and metal tools were exchanged between cultures. Along with these goods came new ideas, inventions, and discoveries that accelerated human progress. Innovations spread rapidly. Builders designed magnificent temples, towering monuments, and impressive cities USI. Our journey began millions of years ago with a small group of fragile ancestors walking across the wild landscapes of prehistoric Africa. They possessed no great physical strength, no powerful claws, and no natural defenses against the dangers that surrounded them. Yet hidden within them was something far more powerful than muscle: the ability to think, to learn, and to imagine a better future. That single gift changed the history of Earth forever. Generation after generation, humanity faced challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. Ice ages covered vast continents with snow and glaciers. Violent volcanic eruptions darkened the skies with ash. Powerful earthquakes reshaped entire landscapes. Droughts turned fertile valleys into barren deserts, while floods swept away everything in their path. Many species disappeared forever, but humans endured. They adapted to every new challenge with remarkable determination. They learned to make fire, create stronger tools, build safer shelters, and work together as families and communities. Every hardship became a lesson, and every lesson became another step forward in humanity's incredible journey. As centuries turned into thousands of years, those early survivors became explorers. They crossed deserts that stretched beyond the horizon, climbed mountains that touched the clouds, and sailed across unknown seas. They discovered new lands, adapted to unfamiliar environments, and built civilizations that transformed the world. Curiosity became humanity's greatest strength. People wanted to know how rivers flowed, why stars moved across the night sky, and what lay beyond the distant horizon. This endless desire to understand the unknown led to remarkable discoveries. Science, mathematics, engineering, medicine, and technology all grew from the same spirit of curiosity that once inspired a prehistoric child to examine a simple stone tool. Civilizations rose and fell. Great empires appeared, flourished, and eventually died. For millions of years, the story of humanity has been one of constant evolution. From the first hesitant footsteps across the African savanna to the towering cities of the modern world, every generation has carried the dreams of those who came before. But what if the greatest chapter of human evolution has not happened yet? Today, scientists believe that humanity stands at the beginning of a completely new era. Unlike our ancient ancestors, we are no longer limited by the environment around us. We can fly across continents in hours, communicate instantly with people on the other side of the planet, and observe galaxies billions of light years away. Technology has become an extension of the human mind, allowing us to solve problems that once seemed impossible. Artificial intelligence is helping doctors diagnose diseases more accurately than ever before. Powerful robots explore places too dangerous for humans. Advanced computers analyze enormous amounts of information in seconds, revealing discoveries that could change the future of science and medicine. Meanwhile, space agencies around the world are preparing for humanity's next giant leap. The moon is no longer seen as the final destination. It is becoming the first stepping stone. Scientists are designing permanent lunar bases where astronauts may one day live and work for months at a time. Beyond the moon lies Mars, a world that many believe could become humanity's second home. Imagine the descendants of prehistoric hunters standing on the red sands of another planet. The same spirit of exploration that once guided our ancestors across rivers and mountains may soon carry us across the vast emptiness of space. Future generations could grow up under alien skies, looking back at Earth as the birthplace of humanity. But the future is not only about technology. It is also about responsibility. Our ancestors survived because they respected the natural world around them. They understood that every river, forest. As we reach the end of this incredible journey, take a moment to imagine the passage of time. Millions of years have flowed by like a great river. Continents have drifted across the planet. Mountains have risen and crumbled. Oceans have expanded and disappeared. Countless species have appeared and vanished forever. Yet through all these unimaginable changes, one remarkable story has continued. The story of humankind. It began with small groups of ancestors who lived in constant fear of predators. Every sunrise was uncertain, and every sunset was a victory. They searched for food with simple stone tools, built shelters from branches and animal hides, and gathered around glowing campfires for warmth and safety. They had no idea that their courage would one day shape the destiny of the entire planet. Every generation added something new. One generation learned to make better tools. Another mastered the power of fire. Others discovered farming, built villages, created languages, and recorded knowledge through writing. Step by step, century after century, humanity continued moving forward. History was never a straight path. There were times of peace and prosperity, but also wars, disasters, famine, and disease. Entire civilizations rose to greatness before fading into history. Great libraries burned. Powerful kingdoms collapsed. Natural disasters reshaped the world. But humanity always endured. Each challenge made us stronger. Each mistake became a lesson. Each discovery opened the door to another. This relentless determination became the defining characteristic of our species. Today, billions of people live across every continent on Earth. Our cities shine brightly at night, visible even from space. We communicate instantly across oceans, perform life-saving surgeries, build machines capable of thinking, and send spacecraft farther into the universe than ever before. And yet, despite all our achievements, we remain connected to those ancient ancestors. Oh, one can answer with certainty. Just as our earliest ancestors could never have imagined airplanes, computers, or space travel, we cannot fully imagine the world that awaits future generations. But one thing is certain: change is inevitable, and evolution never truly stops. Millions of years ago, nature shaped humanity through survival. The strongest did not always survive. Instead, those who could adapt, cooperate, and learn from experience passed their knowledge to the next generation. That same principle continues today, but the forces driving our evolution are changing. Technology is becoming one of the greatest influences on human life. Artificial intelligence is transforming the way we work, learn, and solve problems. Medical science is helping people live longer and healthier lives. Scientists are exploring the secrets hidden inside our DNA, hoping to prevent diseases and improve the quality of life for future generations. Imagine a future where illnesses that once claimed millions of lives exist only in history books. Imagine machines capable of rebuilding damaged organs, curing genetic disorders, and helping people recover from injuries once thought impossible to heal. These possibilities are no longer science fiction. They are becoming reality. Meanwhile, humanity's eyes remain fixed on the stars. The moon may become a permanent home for scientific research. Mars could become the first human colony beyond Earth. Spacecraft powered by revolutionary technology may one day travel to distant planets orbiting other stars. Future children may grow up under skies very different from our own. They may call another world home. As humanity expands into space, new challenges will appear. Living on distant planets will require incredible innovation. People will need to produce food in harsh environments, recycle every drop of water, generate energy efficiently, and protect themselves from dangerous cosmic radiation, just as prehistoric humans adapted to. If we could travel back millions of years and stand beside our earliest ancestors, what would we see? We would not see kings or kingdoms. We would not see towering cities or advanced technology. We would not see books, roads, airplanes, or space stations. Instead, we would see a small group of determined humans standing together beneath the open sky, surrounded by a wild and dangerous world. Their lives were filled with uncertainty, yet every sunrise brought a new opportunity to survive. They had nothing except courage, except hope, except the determination to keep moving forward. Those simple qualities changed the history of our planet forever. Every great achievement that humanity has ever accomplished began with those first brave steps. The first spark of fire, the first stone tool, the first successful hunt, the first shelter, the first family protecting one another. These moments became the foundation of everything that followed. Without those ancient pioneers, there would be no civilizations, no science, no medicine, no art, no music, no exploration, and no modern world. Today, we often measure success by technology, wealth, or power. But the true measure of humanity has always been something much greater. It is our ability to care for one another, to learn from our mistakes, to imagine a future better than the present, and to continue searching for answers, no matter how difficult the journey becomes. Our ancestors taught us that survival is not simply about strength. It is about unity. When they hunted together, they survived. When they shared food, entire families lived through difficult seasons. When they protected their children, the future of humanity continued. That lesson remains just as important today. The challenges we face may be different, but the solution is often the same. Cooperation, knowledge, compassion, and hope. As we look toward the future, new discoveries will continue to change our world. Artificial. Thought the flood of calls would slow down by evening. It only became worse. My assistant knocked on my office door. "Ethan, every conference room is full." "Why?" "Reporters, investors, business leaders. They all want 5 minutes with you." I smiled tiredly. "Tell them I'll schedule interviews next week." "They won't like that." "They don't have to." She nodded and quietly left. A moment later, Grace walked in holding another stack of messages. "You've received invitations from 3 television networks. I'll review them later. And 2 investment firms want private meetings." They had 7 years to meet me. Grace couldn't hide her smile. "I was hoping you'd say that." Before we could continue, Daniel stepped inside. "You should see this." He handed me his tablet. A financial news website had published a headline beside my photograph. "From unknown programmer to one of the nation's youngest tech success stories." I stared at the article without saying a word. Daniel looked at me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about the apartment where this dream started." "The one with the leaking roof?" I nodded. "Back then, nobody believed I could build anything important." Grace smiled warmly. "We believed. You and Daniel never stopped." She looked directly into my eyes. "And that's why today feels personal." My phone vibrated again. This time, the caller ID showed an old investor who had laughed at my first business presentation. I declined the call. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Not even curious?" "No. You don't want to hear his apology?" If he didn't believe in me when I had nothing, his congratulations mean very little now. Grace quietly placed a hand on my shoulder. "You've changed. You've grown." She smiled. "That's even better." I walked to the office window and looked down at the crowd of reporters gathering outside the building. 3 weeks earlier, people had looked at me with pity. Today, they looked. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff as the sun rises over the earth. The light slowly spreads across mountains, forests, deserts, rivers, and oceans. Every place touched by that golden light holds a chapter of humanity's incredible story. Somewhere beneath those mountains, our earliest ancestors once searched for shelter. Along those rivers, the first villages were born. Across those deserts, brave explorers walked toward the unknown. Beyond those oceans, civilizations discovered one another and changed history forever. Every corner of our planet carries the footprints of those who came before us. For millions of years, humanity has faced one challenge after another. Nature tested our ancestors with freezing winters, scorching deserts, violent storms, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, floods, and dangerous predators. Yet no matter how difficult life became, They refused to surrender. Their determination became our inheritance. Their courage became our strength. Their curiosity became our future. Today, humanity stands at another turning point. For the first time in history, we have the knowledge to understand our origins, the technology to explore the universe, and the ability to shape the future of our own civilization. We can observe galaxies billions of light years away. We can study the smallest building blocks of life. We can communicate instantly across the globe. We can send spacecraft beyond the edge of our solar system. These achievements would have seemed like magic to our prehistoric ancestors. Yet every one of them became possible because someone dared to ask a simple question. What if? What if fire could be controlled? What if stone could become a tool? What if rivers could be crossed? What if oceans could be explored? What if humans could fly? What if we could reach the moon? Every great leap in history began with imagination. That same imagination will shape the centuries to come. Perhaps future cities will float across. The story of humankind is unlike any other story ever told. It is not the story of one king, one nation, or one civilization. It is the story of every human who has ever lived. It began millions of years ago with a handful of courageous ancestors who walked across the ancient plains of Africa. They owned nothing except simple stone tools, their determination to survive, and the hope that tomorrow would be better than today. They could never have imagined the future they were creating. Every challenge they overcame became a gift to future generations. Every discovery became another step forward. Every sacrifice became another reason for humanity to continue. The first person who sharpened a stone into a cutting tool did not know that one day humans would build machines capable of exploring other planets. The first family that gathered around a campfire could never have imagined electric lights illuminating entire cities. The first hunter who crossed a dangerous river could never have dreamed that one day people would cross oceans in hours and travel beyond Earth's atmosphere. Yet every modern achievement can be traced back to those humble beginnings. That is the true miracle of evolution. Humanity did not become great overnight. It became great because millions of ordinary people over millions of years refused to give up. Generation after generation, they learned from failure. They adapted to change. They shared knowledge. They cared for their families. They imagined a better future. That spirit still lives within us today. It lives in every scientist searching for answers, in every teacher inspiring young minds, in every doctor saving lives, in every engineer creating new technologies, in every explorer venturing into the unknown, and in every child who dares to dream. The future will bring challenges we cannot yet imagine. Climate change, new diseases, technological revolutions, the exploration of distant planets, perhaps even